Hurricane season getting an early and deadly start. Wall Street telling employees get back to the office or else. And fans will be in the stands at the Olympics next month. Monday Need to Know. Let's go. Good morning. This is Cheddar's Need to Know podcast for Monday, June 21st. I'm Jill Wagner with Carlo Versano. Hi, Carlo. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Jill. Happy first day of summer, everybody. We're both wearing our summer whites here.
We are, weirdly.
It looks like we're going to a tennis match. It feels like it's been summer for months, at least in the Northeast. It's too early to be this hot.
It really is. I'm a little depressed, though, because obviously this is the longest day of the year, but then because gradually it gets shorter, and we also, that means it's going to start getting lighter later. So I'm at the point where I'm able to drive to work, and the sun is at least coming up. So it's just that countdown to driving in darkness.
Well, if you want to know how crazy and wild my weekends have been since becoming a father, I went to bed Saturday night. It was not even just a little bit light out, like just straight like sunlight. It was like whatever it takes, I guess, right?
Well, I hope you had a nice first Father's Day. Let's continue talking about the weather here, Carlo. The third named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season turned fatal as it swept across the southeast over the weekend. At least 13 people were killed in the wake of Claudette, including 9 children. 8 of those were kids that were traveling in a local youth van that hydroplaned and crashed on a wet Alabama highway. That fiery crash also killing a man and his baby who were in another vehicle. Claudette was downgraded to a tropical depression, but is expected to regain tropical storm status over North Carolina this morning before heading out to sea. Needless to say, this is not when you normally are hearing about named tropical storms.
It's early.
It's early.
It's just I just have sort of like this bad feeling about this summer all around in terms of natural disasters and hot temperatures. Anyway, just speaking of deadly car accidents, this is not the same, but I just wanted to get on the record with this. Police saying this morning that a fatal crash at a pride parade in Fort Lauderdale, Florida yesterday was an accident, not a hate crime, as originally reported. A 77-year-old man drove his pickup truck into a men's chorus group marching in that gay pride parade, killing one person. He also narrowly missed a member of Congress. Florida Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz was riding in a convertible in the parade. She was almost hit. So that, combined with the fact that it was a pride event and the fact that the Fort Lauderdale mayor erroneously said that this was an intentional act, made it seem like this was sort of a terrorist event as it was unfolding yesterday. It's not the case. That was really irresponsible, actually, on the mayor's part. His comments were repeated in the media, giving the sense that this was a terrorist attack. So just if you see the story today, it appears by all accounts to have been an accident. Cops say the driver was a member of that chorus group who was unable to walk in the parade and apparently accelerated into the crowd by mistake, which sadly is something that we see a lot, I think, especially with older drivers.
When you say terrorist attack, you just mean like a hate crime against the gay community. I think that's what and this is where social media then becomes really a problem, because all I saw on social media yesterday were posts about, like this being a hate crime. It just repeats whatever is already out there. And obviously, any loss of life is horrific, but it does change what this is. Because I remember reading about it and just thinking, oh my God, like it is 2021. We're attacking people who are walking at a pride parade. Enough. And it's obviously you don't. Loss of life is loss of life. In some ways, it's a relief that this was not a hate crime. But this is the problem, I guess, just with news via Twitter and social media.
Everything just travels so fast, right? It's like, what's the saying? Like a lie travels around the world before you can put your shoes on or something. I think I may have butchered that saying. But yeah, the bottom line is in an event of breaking news, try and stay off social media until there's more confirmation, because just never trust the first reports you see.
All right, switching gears, the incentives for people to get vaccinated, whether it's free beer or a chance to win $1 million, appears to be losing their efficacy. Many states now reporting that the lotteries and other prizes being offered are not stemming the decline in their vaccination drives. The U.S. seems unlikely to reach the White House goal of getting 70% of the population at least partially vaccinated by July 4th. Public health officials say there is a risk of two Americas emerging as that Delta variant becomes the dominant strain in the U.S. over the next few weeks, areas where it poses little to no threat because vaccination prevalence is so high. And then there's going to be these other areas where it just tears through communities that have declined the vaccines in large numbers.
What have we been saying? This is absolutely what's going to happen. It already is happening. It's a tragedy, really. It's a national failure on all of our parts. In some ways, I don't know what else to say about it. It's just so depressing. This is going to be the next phase of this pandemic. Remember, everybody, right? Virtually every single person in the hospital right now with COVID is unvaccinated. You can't say that enough, right? I don't know how much difference it will make, probably none, but it's a really important point to continue to get out there. There was a recent outbreak at a government office in Manatee, Florida, that I thought this was a perfect example of this. 2 people were killed, 5 people were hospitalized. The only member of the office who didn't get sick was the one person who was vaccinated. So it just shows you. But by the way, on a little bit of a less depressing note, I don't know if you saw Foo Fighters opened MSG last night, first full capacity concert at New York's Madison Square Garden since the pandemic started. So it looked like it was a great show. Even Dave Chappelle was there, and he came out to cover Radiohead's Creep with Dave Grohl. So some great videos circulating on social media of that. There
was actually an anti-vaxxer protest at one of their concerts earlier in the weekend, claiming, segregation by,
because the Foo Fighters said that only vaccinated
yes, because the Foo Fighters. But a friend, one of my good friends lives in Nashville, and I was chatting with her this weekend, and she was saying, in New York, not everyone's vaccinated, but it's sort of a given that most people that are vaccinated. Yeah. I feel like I know more people who are not vaccinated. I know of the people in my life that are not vaccinated, right? I feel like it's more of a given. If that is more of an aberration if somebody's not vaccinated. She said in Tennessee, where she is, most of her friends are vaccinated, but the general population and the consensus is that there's something wrong with the vaccines and that they're bad and it's government overreach.
There was a big story over the weekend, Jill, about Johnson & Johnson and how that was going to be this workhorse of the vaccine drives, right? The one and done shot, and it just has been basically a failure. It has not gotten back to where it needed to be ever since the FDA paused it a couple months ago over those issues about blood clots. So it's just that's a real failure. Also, not for nothing, and I do blame a lot of this on people who don't get vaccinated, but the government, I think at this point, why aren't the mRNA vaccines been given full authorization at this point, right? I mean, don't you think at this point we should have a full authorization on these drugs? I mean, I don't know. I don't work at the FDA, so maybe there's a reason why they're waiting. But they're pretty clearly effective. They pretty clearly don't cause, mass issues of side effects or anything. Let's get these things fully effective. Let's make it even harder for people to decline them.
Overseas in Vienna, world leaders met this weekend in an attempt to revive the Iran nuclear deal, a day after Iranians elected the hardliner Ibrahim Raisi as their new president. The outcome not really in doubt. Virtually all of the other candidates, actually hundreds of other people who wanted to run, disqualified, leaving the ultra-conservative Raisi as the most likely outcome in a very low turnout election. So this is basically Iran going even further to the right than they already are.
Yeah, so Raisi's election, it's unlikely probably to change much of the calculus on the nuclear negotiations as we try and get this deal, as the U.S. at least tries to get this deal back on track, because it's the Ayatollah who has the final say on all things in Iran, all policy. So even if this guy was someone who didn't, hate America, who wasn't an ultra-conservative, wouldn't really matter much because he's sort of a figurehead. But they never would have allowed that to be the outcome anyway, right? It was always going to be one of these hardliners. But the important thing is that Raisi has said that he wants to get the nuclear deal back on track.
The big banks have a message to their employees: get back to the office by Labor Day or start thinking about getting a new job. That was the tone from Morgan Stanley CEO James Gorman, who told the bank staff, quote, if you can go to a restaurant in New York City, you can come into the office, and gave September as the final deadline to come back. Bank of America CEO said essentially the same thing in a TV interview last week, although a little bit less stern. What do you think of it, Carlo?
Well, also JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon, last month he said straight up he's done with Zoom and he expects workers to come back in the office this summer. Meanwhile, Goldman Sachs, they've already been summoned back. And the fact is Goldman actually had bankers in the office through COVID, unlike some of the other big financial institutions. It certainly, Jill, seems to me like a lot of big corporate workforces are sort of conceding the summer and saying that Labor Day or bust is the sort of deadline, which I think is great if you've got sort of like a Hampton share house this summer and you want to work from there. Not so great for the deli on the corner. Or the subway in New York City, which badly needs people to start coming back. But it does sort of feel like Labor Day is the day, and people are going to be back in force if they aren't already by then.
I mean, look, Carlo, not to be too personal, but you're obviously doing this from home. What is holding you back from coming into the office? Because our office is open. You're fully vaccinated. What is your? Obviously, there's not that many people here, but I'm just wondering, like, why are you not back at the office yet?
So I'm taking advantage of the fact that we don't have to be back, just so I can help Becky out more. So now I've made the decision that I'm going to stay home at least for the next couple of weeks, fully just because so I can just help out around here more and not leave her with the baby. But I would absolutely, I plan on coming back, probably at least starting to come back after the 4th. And I would absolutely, if not for this baby, I would be back there already with you.
But is really though, because that before the baby you didn't come back and you were. I'm not trying to call you out specifically. I just think that it's harder than people think. I'm someone who's in such a different mind frame because I have had to be in this office pretty much throughout the entire pandemic, and I have a little bit of envy actually. Like I think that there's going to be this. I don't know, because I'm not the only person whose job requires me to actually be there in person. So I'm envious of people who are able to just work from home and work remotely and are kind of fighting that. But I do think that work quality suffers. I really do. Just not having that being face-to-face contact, that creativity, that just the energy that happens, and also just getting to know your colleagues in a way that's just not entirely over Slack or over Zoom. And I'm just saying, like, I know you weren't even back before the baby. Was that just? But then again, why come back if the office is empty? It's not like you're going to be getting much of the experience. I mean, I think that's the problem. It's like there's almost going to be a tipping point.
Yes. It's a first mover issue. People have to be back in order for other people to come back. Honestly, Joe, one of the reasons why I didn't come back before the baby was just because, one of the policies that our office had in place was you come back to the office, but you have to wear a mask all day. So I don't want to do that. When I come back to the office, I intend to come back to the office and operate as though in pre-COVID times, right? I don't want to wear a mask. I don't want to socially distance on the elevator. Like that to me is like, it's just kind of dumb. So like I'm down to come back, but don't expect me to be wearing a mask for 10 hours sitting at my desk.
Makes a lot of sense. And again, I'm not trying, this wasn't like an interrogation on Carlo. I was curious because I want to get into the mindset of somebody who's basically been working from home for a year and change, and now all of a sudden would be told you got to come in. What's interesting, Carlo, too, is just, about Wall Street's bullishness on getting back to the office is what this could mean when it comes to the war for young talent. So if you're somebody who just graduated and you've got job offers from Google and Goldman Sachs, and Google says, okay, you could work remotely forever. Goldman, though, says, we're going to need you in the office tomorrow. Which are you going to pick? I don't know. If you're a young worker, I mean, I don't know, don't you want to be in the office and getting some face-to-face time with the boss and finding mentors and learning from them? I do not know. I feel like we are in such uncharted territory.
It's uncharted territory. Absolutely is. I've already heard anecdotally things just like that happening. That there's a ton of musical chairs happening in the white collar workforce right now. It's definitely happening in media. I've heard that it's happening in banking and technology. And I think there's just a lot of pent up desire for change. Right? If you were looking for a new job in early 2020, you tabled that plan when the pandemic hit. Right? Obviously, nobody was really hiring. Now things are hiring. People are moving. Things are changing. Things are happening. So there is definitely this issue about this war for talent, and I think that's something that a lot of bosses are really struggling with right now, right? Because how do you compete if somebody wants to work from Lake Tahoe, then right, rather than commute every day to the office? How do you compete with that?
It's going to be complicated. It feels like, again, the solution is some type of hybrid model where you're in the office a few days a week, and that there's just more flexibility. I think more flexibility in general is a good thing for Americans, especially who are kind of workhorses. But there are work shortages. There are worker shortages everywhere. I don't know if you heard about what happened over the weekend. A bunch of issues with the airlines, even because they're short-staffed. So we're in this crazy situation again, where you've got millions and millions of Americans who are out of work, and so many companies that are looking to hire, but basically for whatever reason, and there's multiple, people not quite ready to get back to work just yet.
Yeah. I just think it's going to be a messy summer, and I think that these things are going to start to level out after Labor Day.
Amazon Prime Day kicks off today. There's going to be deals on everything from Amazon-branded products to third-party items. Amazon says there are 2 million deals to be had over the course of the annual 48-hour shopping bonanza. But because of the global supply chain issues, a lot of items might be out of stock this year.
Yeah, be prepared to see that because the supply chain issues are still continuing. Just talking about how everything's so messy right now. I'm never buying anything that's Amazon branded again because I read a story. I think it was when I was out. I don't know if you guys covered this or not. It was this story about how all their stuff explodes. Do you know what I'm talking about?
We did not cover it on this podcast, but we covered it on Wake Up with Cheddar, and the images are startling in terms of what goes on with these stuff with them.
So yeah, next time you're on Amazon and you're gonna buy an extension cord or a surge protector or something, just do yourself a favor and don't buy the Amazon Basics branded one, because these are the ones that are apparently so shoddily made that they tend to explode, which you don't want in a surge protector. You really want that thing to not catch on fire. It's sort of the whole point of it. But I am in the market for a toaster actually right now. I was actually going to go on Amazon because it's like muscle memory now. I was like, shoot, we need a new toaster. So I fired up the Amazon app, and then I thought to myself, you know what? It's Prime Day. I'm going to do my own personal Prime Day resistance, and I'm going to go to the hardware store today and try to buy a toaster. I have no idea if that's going to work. I don't even know if they sell toasters at the hardware store, but I'm going to do it, and I will let you know how it goes.
It's funny you say that because, and I don't want to divulge too much, but I have a present that I really wanted to get for Francesca. And okay,
is it a toaster?
No, and I basically was ready to click purchase on Amazon, and it is killing me because I don't want to do it. And so I'm now trying to find you guys another present. And I know this sounds crazy. So you shall see what, because it's so easy, and it was just I was able to just do it in a few minutes, and it was exactly what I wanted. But now I'm rethinking the whole thing.
Oh, okay. Well, you have me on tenterhooks over here looking. Just don't give me a toaster.
Yes, but now I know what you really want. The Tokyo Olympics plowing ahead, COVID be damned. Moments ago, the IOC announced that it is going to allow up to 10,000 fans or 50% of a venue's capacity to watch events in person. The crowds will be made entirely of domestic spectators after the committee banned international travelers from attending the games. The good news is that after a slow start, Japan's vaccination drive has gotten a whole lot better. Virus cases now declining across the country. Opening ceremony, by the way, scheduled for July 23rd, so in about a month from now.
Yeah, U.S. track and field trials underway in Eugene, Oregon. We actually should cover this this week. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow. But Team USA looking really good as it comes together out there. Meanwhile, just on the sports beat here, a lot of sports over the weekend. Just to update you on quickly, the NBA playoffs. It's conference finals time. Atlanta Hawks will meet the Milwaukee Bucks in the East after Atlanta did away with the top-seeded Sixers last night. The Bucks dispatched with Brooklyn the night before. A couple amazing series there. In the West, the Suns took game one of their series against the Clippers. They're playing without Chris Paul, who's still sitting on the COVID protocol. And in golf yesterday, John Ram of Spain won the U.S. Open on back-to-back birdies on 17 and 18. It's the first time a Spaniard has won that major. He did it on his first Father's Day, no less. And I don't know if you saw the clips, but his wife brought their infant son out on the 18th hole to congratulate him. And I just about lost it. I cried, I think. I honestly, no joke, I think I cried 3 separate times yesterday. I'm like an emotional. They say
you've got the hormones.
Yeah, I've got the hormones. I don't know what it is.
All right, well, that is what you need to know for Monday, June 21st. And hopefully today will be a cry-free day for you, Carlo.
Here's hoping. So far, so good. Have a good one, guys.